Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, and I'm back again with another video. And in this one, I'm going to do things a little bit different. For the last few shoots, I've been really taking my time to put together a better product. And the way I've been doing that is by breaking down the idea in a lot more detail, figuring out the type of equipment that I want to use, and just an overall breakdown of how I'm going to light everything. This whole idea might be something that I decide to make a series out of because I'm really just trying to share my thought process and the way that I do things with my audience in hopes that I not only make my own work better, but also to help your work improve as well. Now, full transparency, I'm not going to be coming on here acting as if I'm the best cinematographer to ever touch the internet or anything like that. My main purpose is to share my thought process with you guys, hopefully improve what we're able to do together and start some dialogue. And if you guys have any constructive criticism for me, I'm all here for it. Just make sure that you keep everything respectful. I'm probably going to make this a two-part series just for the simple fact that I don't want it to be too long. And I really want you guys to be able to engage with what you're looking at and be able to ask your questions in this video. So sit down, grab your drink, grab something to eat, and let's get through this. Now with all that out of the way, let's take a look at this spec ad and start breaking down how we put it all together.
Every time that I'm alone, enjoying my space, this feeling just keeps coming over me, and I just can't shake it. No matter what I do, it just keeps drawing me back. I often contemplate between choosing one or the other, or I can just embrace both, Beauty and the Beast.
Now, if we start from the beginning, my team and I have a weekly meeting, and what we like to do is put together some spec ad ideas that we want to be able to do with each other. And during those meetings, we have three major objectives with any of the spec work that we decide to do. So the first thing we try to do with these spec ads is to be able to work in an environment where we can work at our full capacity and have full creative control over whatever we're shooting. We also want to create an environment where we're able to learn from our mistakes and not worry about any repercussions if we make those kind of mistakes. When we work on our spec ads, there's no particular client or any money exchange or anything like that. What I mean by all of that is if we do make any mistakes, it's mistakes that we make with the intention of learning from them, and then therefore going to the next job and avoid those mistakes altogether. The second reason why we do these kind of shoots is to be able to create a ton of content that we can use on social media and to have a finished project that we can add to our portfolios. This is important because when we work with a client, most of the time we might not have a budget that can support the entire crew, so we're not necessarily working at our full power. And on top of that, when you have a client and there's money exchange, this is not an environment where you try to learn. You try to figure all that stuff out, and then by the time you come to the client, you're able to do exactly what they're looking for. And then just in general, having more social media is just a great thing for everyone. If we're able to show more people what we're capable of at our full power, the chances of us getting the type of clients that we want to work with increases drastically. And the last reason is to just get those reps in. When you work with a team, you start figuring out everybody's strengths and weaknesses and figuring out how we can help each other. Now, the program that we use to put together our spec ads is Milanos. Now, I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but honestly, it is the best tool that I've used as a creative to start putting together my ideas. It combines the ability to use images and text to put everything in something like almost like a mind map, and then you can add everybody that you want to the project and give them a clear visual of what you're going for. Now, I can make an entire video about Milanos, but that's not what the purpose of this video is about. But if that is something that you're interested in hearing more about, leave something in the comments so I can put together a video for you guys. But yeah, once we put together that entire idea in Milanos, we then look for a company or a brand that we feel fits what we're going for and send it out as a proposal. In this case, for Beauty and the Beast, we reached out to OT from Club Energy, and everything was absolutely lined up perfectly. OT is an absolute professional, and she's in phenomenal shape. So this first look that we created was supposed to be our talent at home, just chilling in her own space and kind of doing her own thing. We got her to write in her journal, and we want to just really highlight her in her clothing brand while she's just chilling. But every so often, she just had these flashbacks of when she was back in the gym and just going into beast mode. So that was the whole purpose of these scenes, which is to show the other side of her, which is the beauty side. Now, what we used to shoot this entire project was the KOMODO X with the DZO Vespid primes. And in our matte box, we added a 1/4 Pro Mist filter just because we didn't want everything to be super sharp and edgy, because we're dealing with a woman and we're going for more of a beauty feel than just a high contrast and super sharp type of image. So that was simply what we used to shoot this entire thing. Now, if we look at the first shot here, it's just of her about to go sit down on her couch and start writing in her journal. And what was cool about this shot was that there was a huge window over here, and it was frosted with just like frosted or whatever. But the problem was that the light that was coming through there, even though it was on a frosted glass, it was still pretty harsh. It wasn't soft at all. So what we ended up deciding to do was take a piece of diffusion, and we added it right over here. So the piece of diffusion was right there. And we set up the 600D with the Fresnel, and we shot right through that diffusion. So our 600D was somewhere over here, like this. And it was shooting right through that diffusion back onto her. And the reason that we did it this way is because we needed to basically use the diffusion to block the light that was coming from outside onto her so that it wasn't as harsh. And then we added back our own light with the 600D to get exactly what we were looking for at basically at the angle that we wanted it to come from as well. And then if we look at the second shot, this is where we can kind of see where that decision really started to shine, right? If we look at our model here and we look at the wall that she's up against, this is her shadow that was there before. And as you guys can see, it is super soft and, really hidden, basically. It came out really soft, just the way that we wanted it to look like. And if we look at this side of her body and the frame as well, we can see that the light is hitting her really nicely and it's super soft. And then we're falling into a very nice shadow side on this side, and everything just looks like it's coming from the sun through a window. If somebody didn't tell me that this was all shot like with a Fresnel and a 600D through diffusion, I wouldn't have known that at all. So I thought that was pretty cool. We could see on her side of her face here, it's also hitting her really nicely. And then it's just falling off into shadow, but in a way that's not too dramatic or drastic. It just looks very natural. And that's exactly what we were going for with these beauty shots at home. And then one more time, if we look at the super close-up of her writing in the journal, basically all that we did for this shot was we still had our diffusion that was right here. And we still had the 600D right here that was shooting through it. But we kind of moved it around this way so that we can get a little bit more wrap around her hand and it's onto the page or whatever. So the light was basically shooting pretty much just like this. So the light was coming into her like this, but because of how we set it up, it was still able to wrap a little bit around here and still fall off onto her page over here. And for me, I just really liked the way that looked because everything was soft again. It was super soft and it just looked so natural that I was like, okay, cool. We can play around with the position of this light and wrap it around her as much as we want and still have it look like it's coming from that big window that was on the side over there. So the second scene of this shoot was probably my favorite, and it was all done in this kitchen. Now, this kitchen was basically butt naked. There was literally nothing in there. So all we had were these 4 pot lights right here, and literally this desk right here. And everything else we had to kind of add to it to make it look like it was an actual kitchen that somebody lives in. So we added a few plants here, a few more pieces of decoration. We added a plant here as well as something in the foreground. We added these little elements on the wall over here. These things that kind of look like I think it was a toaster, and we just had a bag there or whatever. And then something to boil water. And we just added all these different elements into the space to give it a bit more character and give it a bit more life and make it look like somebody actually lives there. And then just to kind of, I guess, bring up the ambience of the space and to just kind of make it look a little bit more cooler, we also added these tubes here. So there was a bunch of little nan-light tubes that we added into the space here. And essentially, like I said, all that did was really kind of backlight her a bit. So all this light was kind of shining on to her from the back and just kind of giving her like this glow almost like around her. And at the same time, it was adding some ambience into the space, because all that we were getting light from were these pot lights over here. And I don't know if you guys have ever shot in a space like this and you only rely on pot lights, it starts looking weird fast. And at the key this space, we pretty much all that we did was take our diffusion again, and it was kind of set up against this wall over here, just out of frame. And then we had the 600D coming from this direction, like this, and it was shooting into the diffusion, and that diffusion was bouncing the light back onto her. So I know it's kind of getting messy, but that's pretty much exactly what we did here. Is we shot the 600D into the diffusion bounced back onto our model, and all that really did was just lift up, again, the exposure on her skin, and it allowed it to kind of wrap around her face as well, which was a huge plus for us. Now, if we look at the second angle from this scene, we can see a little bit more of the set design that we set up over here. We add these little elements to the wall, otherwise it would have just been bare and not really cool. We kept this plant over here, and then you can see the light coming from these tube lights that we had set up, and it's just kind of giving a bit of a glow back to her skin. It's kind of separating her again from the background. And again, you can see our main piece of bounce or diffusion was over here. Again, we had the 600D on this side, and it was shooting into the bounce board like this, and all of that was coming back and lighting our model this way. So that's what gave us a bit of our highlights on her skin over here. And again, everything just kind of fell into a nice little bit of shadow, but it was so like clean and pure falling off of her skin. So I love how this shot came out. This is one of my favorite shots that we shot for the whole series. And another thing that we wanted to really just make sure that was always kind of in every frame that we were doing was, again, her logo, because this is Beauty and the Beast, but it's surrounding her clothing line that she's essentially going to be selling to her clients. Now, if we take a look at the third scene from this shoot, we really wanted to kind of switch it up a bit. We felt like the first shot was just really bare, and there wasn't really much kind of helping to build it all up together. So we're like, okay, let's add some foreground elements to everything. So all these plants and everything and the candles, we add them into the shot. And then we kind of put her in the middle, and we're like, okay, we wanted to read a book and just, again, be in her space. As always, like we said before, we wanted to highlight her brand here in the shot. And the way that we lit this was actually pretty cool. So the 600D was kind of here. And we actually had a piece of diffusion that was draped in front of the 600D, and it was basically shooting through the diffusion this direction. And then we had our bounce board again here. And that was getting hit by the 600D and then bouncing all that light back onto our talent this way. And the reason why we did it like that, I mean, you guys kind of get the idea of what we were going for here. We were really just trying to make everything as soft as possible. And if we decide to just take a softbox, throw it on a 600D, and just shoot it directly at her, that would look extremely sourcey, and it wouldn't really give the look that we were going for. Like, this is supposed to be somebody at home, just kind of chilling, and we don't want all this hard light or strong light coming through and hitting her in any which way. So that's why we did it like that, to give her that soft look that we were going for. And again, you can see, like, it did a really good job. Like, you can see her legs here, a nice highlight there, this side of her face, again, really nice highlight, and then just gradually going over into shadow, which is what we were going for in the whole thing. And here's the same shot, a little bit wider, and again, you can see the light that was bouncing back onto her, really soft, really nice. And there was a small window up here in this area, and it was kind of shining some light down on her like this. And then we decided to place her like that because we wanted to get this like hair light that was going on her. And I think it accomplished what we were going for. But you can see in this wide shot, we didn't really love it because we had all this space that really nothing was happening. So our whole thing was to use that shot before of her basically surrounded by the foreground elements that we added in there to just make this entire thing just look a little bit better. And then again, as always, we tried to show her logo in here. and just have her just chilling. Like she's just feet kick up, sitting down, reading her book in the candle lights and like in her space and in her element. So this was a really nice shot that we felt like helped to finish the story of what she was doing at her home. And for me, it was cool to see what we were able to do in the space that we got and within a little bit of time that we actually had. And I feel like every shot that we got came out as good as we could under the circumstances. But there were certain things that if I were to do it again, I would definitely, make some changes to make sure that we get it a little bit better. And one of those things would be to definitely do some location scouting a day or two before we actually show up to shoot it. And the reason why is because we had a lot of equipment with us and we ended up only using the 600D with a few pieces of diffusion and a few nan lights that just help with the ambience of the kitchen scene that we shot. And if we took the time to scout the location before and have an idea of what we wanted to do, we wouldn't have to bring all those additional lights that we ended up bringing that we never used. And on top of that, if we took the time to do some location scouting, in the third scene, I want to have her on a bed and get like a top-down shot and, all these kind of things. If we did some location scouting, I would have been able to get that shot because we would have probably chose a different location that had a bed. But because I didn't do that, I didn't realize that there wasn't a bed there and I couldn't do what I wanted to do, right? And on top of that, we would have been able to bring in a few more elements that kind of would help make that space feel and look a little bit more like a home opposed to just a couch and a few different plants or whatever that we kind of forced into the shot to kind of get that look that we were going for. If we took the time to location scout and bring some elements in, it would have looked and felt more like her living space. So that's a couple of things that I would have done differently. But overall, I was pretty happy with what we were able to put together. And this is why we do spec work, right? Is to put ourselves in these situations where we probably never did it before, see some of the things that worked, see some of the things that didn't work, and then for the next one, we can make the adjustments based on the mistakes or whatever we liked in the first one. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video, part one. I will put together a part two where we actually go and look at all the shots that we did at the gym location. And if you guys have any questions about what we looked at in this video, make sure you go ahead and leave it in the comments below. And if you have any new questions or something that you maybe want to see in the second part of this video, leave those in the comments for me as well so I know to put those in the next video. But yeah, as always, guys, I just want to say thank you for watching. And remember to look, learn, and share. Take it easy, guys. Peace.